Ducktales, 20 years later, episode 15. Fantasys and TLC had made a mummy out of Louis Duck. For the foreseeable future, his heroing days were on hold. Louis tried to move an arm, scratching it, but the sudden pain in his chest caused him to go right back to a more neutral position. You shouldn't move, Louis, said Webby, who was sitting with the superhero with a first aid kit in her lap. The hero, for his part, was at the moment strapped into a fully reclined seat on the sea deck, sore agony. He's awake? Yeah, Dewey, but be gentle, he's in a lot of pain. Dewey walked up into Louis's vision. Louis, for a moment, the vibrations underneath and steady buzz of the propellers told him they were in the air. Louis tried to speak, but his ribs protested every breath. Where? Dewey answered quickly, heading towards Bombay. The note you told us to trust says there's an accountant being held at the con building. Is that so? Despite it being the silliest thing that I ever heard of, and being too convenient for my taste, you told us to trust it, and here we are. Louis wanted to nod and look content, but pain set his features. I want to know what happened to you. Who is this PK? Did he beat you up? Yes. Then why should we trust whatever he says? I can't say. Why not? Webby snapped up at her employer. Dewey, he's had enough. Let him rest. Looking from Webby to Louis, Dewey scowled. I don't like this one bit. Louis wasn't finished, however. His eyes scanned over the mounted cabin he could see. Where is Jose? Webby answered as he pulled out a roll of bandages, gently wrapping the old ones, revealing the ugly wounds underneath. He stayed behind in Chihuahua. He said that he wanted to stay out of our way, catch up with Panchita. That's for the best, struggled Louis. Girls do. Well, said Webby, as he gave a glance towards the closed door leading to the pilot's cabin. Huey was trying his best to keep his eyes on the sky. But when you have 3 Brazilian girls who don't know enough English to talk your ears off orbiting around you, looking more stacked than a pile of $1,000 bills, sometimes it becomes difficult to concentrate. Doing! So, girls, he began, trying to make conversation. Your uncle said you could come along with us? Sim, said Rosanita. We come with you, Huey. And we want to help you as much as we can, said Maria. Amelia spoke something in Portuguese. Huey couldn't quite parse. All 3 girls giggled. Well, that's great, he said. Your uncle had some words with me before we left. Really? What did he say? Huey paused, his eyes rolling up into his head, soaking up the memory from a few hours before. Huey, I have something to say. Yeah, Joe? You keep my girls safe. Can do. If they do not see me so, they are my daughters, and I love them very much. I know, Joe. Keep them happy and content for as long as you know them. I will. And if you break any of their hearts, keep in mind that even if I am a pleasant, non-violent old man, I am friends with a gun-crazy cowboy who is in the habit of shooting first, asking questions never. Yes, ho! Oh! That's a pleasant treat. Huey tried not to sweat as 3 pairs of hands clamored to touch his arms and shoulders as subtly as they could imagine. 3 girls! That's a man's dream! 3 girls clamoring for his attention, and if he picks any one girl over the others, he'll have to worry about taking care of the brand new hole in his head. Huey, you haven't answered the question. What did he say? Oh, he laughed. That he loves all 3 of you very much, and he'll miss you. The 3 girls smiled at each other, and Huey couldn't help but feel the triplet smiles looking a bit smirky. Webby looked back from the cabin, back to Louis. Yeah, he has to come. Louis looked like he wanted to laugh, but no sound came. Ugh, funny hurts. Enough nonsense, said Dewey. Now you're awake, we need to make a plan. We certainly won't be able to pull that janitor trick twice. We need to find out a way to save whoever's in there. Look at me, said Louis as Webby changed his bandages. I'm out of the game for a while. Louis scratched his chin. But how? Single man. Could get in stealthy like. Webby's head shook wildly. Oh no, don't even think about it. I'm not. Don't worry. Just tell Huey. His less bruised arm began to move towards his utility belt. To Webby's concerned look. Take this. Use Sea Duck's radio, he said, pulling out a piece of paper with a string of numbers on it. Call this radio wavelength. Say gadgets. McQuack over Bombay. Requesting help. Levy took the paper and nodded, before looking over into the pilot's cabin. What will that do? You'll see. She'll meet us in Bombay. He finally managed to smile. We've got nothing to worry about. From the sea to the land, two planes converged on a hidden position. One, a well-preserved antique. Another, a science-fiction dream living through the years of neglect from being owned by a non-pilot. The Thunderquack had pulled it ahead of the Sea Duck through sheer speed and was waiting for about 30 minutes before the yellow Conway L-16 came down from its flight. Soon, the passengers of the plane passed out. Before anyone could say a word, Darkwing had surveyed the group. Where's GP? Dewey at the fore, pointing towards the door, come to the exit of the plane. Darkwing rushed in with a rustle of her cape, gasped at what she saw inside. Gadgets! What happened? Hi, DW, said Louis. Mummified remained smiling weakly. How's tricks? What happened? She repeated, before turning around and rounding on the nearest of Louis's companions. What happened to me, Webby? What happened? Here. She shrank back from the masked woman's piercing gaze and bellowing voice before answering. Got in a fight. Someone named PK. PK? Her face froze to a strange expression of surprise and worry. Yeah, just what he called himself, said Dewey, stepping between Webby and Darkwing suddenly. We met him once before, when he helped us escape from the Iron Vulture. Huey smiled. It beat you up in the process, if I recall. Yes. Well, we met him again, and Louis suffered for him. Do you? Does he run in your circles? Darkwing shook her head. He is a superhero, if that's what you mean. But no, he's generally not my ally, or anyone else's for that matter. He's not very well known outside the community. But in the community he's, well, sort of a legend, you know. Do tell. Well, you remember that alien invasion we had a few years back? Huey, Dewey, and Webby, and the three karaoke girls all looked blank. Huey was the one who got it together to say, No. Exactly. Because he did his job, and well, I don't even want to know how you fellas got into his bad side, but, hoo boy. Believe me, Dewey said, rubbing his beak, I know. Anyway, Darkwing said after a tense pause. She turned back towards Louis's reclined state and knelt down next to him. What do you guys need from me? Huey climbed onto the plane and began to speak for the weakened Louis. We need you to airdrop into the con building. Apparently there's someone being held there. And how did you hear about this? Louis spoke up. The son of a bitch that caved my head in. Darkwing looked at his face for a moment before giving a little I thought you guys were on his bad side. Well, we're not exactly friends. There was another pause as Darkwing considered this. She stood up from Louis's side and walked to Huey. You'll be my pilot, right? You'll have me, ma'am. She nodded. All right, then. We'll wait until the night, and we'll take the Thunderquack. It's stealthier. You drop me off, and I'll get your man out of there in 2 hours. Last Pat McQuack was here. How the hell do you know that? Huey and Darkwing were sitting, side by side, in a Thunderquack. Darkwing looking bewildered at the various buttons and switches he never bothered to use. Simply content to remember the simple remote control setting when she needed to fly. Huey looking nostalgic as he pressed those same switches and buttons now in preparation for their trip. The sky above was dark, and getting darker. It's just the Huds. He had a peculiar way of handling his instruments. Let me guess. Guess away. It's the chewing gum and band-aids, isn't it? Got it in one. He smiled as he picked a particularly nasty piece of pink goo from within the control machinery. Makes me a little nostalgic for the old days, you know? I guess. She looked over the control panel and took stock of her supplies. Parachute, bow and quiver, costume on straight, check. She had a thought. Whatever happened to Launchpad anyway? I'm sure he's still kicking. After I learned to go learn from Mr. Cloudkicker, last I heard he joined the circus as a stunt pilot. How is he not dead yet? Beats me. I looked him up once, and his world record for survived crash landings is so high that it's expected to stand for the next 50 years or more. And the experts are right. It'll claim the lives of hundreds of pilots trying to break it. That's a little dismal, Huey. You asked. He looked at his watch. 1/2 hour till takeoff. Got everything double DW? Oh God, don't call me that. Huh? That's what Launchpad used to call Darkwing Duck the First. It's weird. Huey smiled, his eyes looked towards the sky. Believe it or not, I know how you feel. The two looked at each other, seeing in the other the child desperately trying to live up to the parent one way or another. They exchanged a sly smile, and Darkwing held out her hand. Darkwing's fine for now. Huey shook it. Alright, Darkwing, whatever you say. I'm a little sad. I really wish I could have done some Launchpad voices, though. Suddenly, their heads were turned by a commotion outside, along with a loud cry. No! Huey! At this, the canopy of the thunderquack was open, and Darkwing jumped out. It came billowing up behind her. Like a shambling corpse, there he was, ambling down from the sheet-duck on stiff legs, stiff arms, and stiff everything. What the hell are you doing, Gadgets? She yelled at him, before turning to Webby, standing by, afraid to touch him. What's he doing? Louie, let me help you back onto the plane. Stop. I have to. Darkwing, I want to talk to you. He turned slowly and nearly fell. Darkwing placed her hands over his shoulders, supporting him. What are you doing, you idiot? You need rest. You don't have to do this for us. Oh boy, never seen this scene before. Get back to your seats, Gadgets. You hurt bad. No, really. You've done so much for us already. I feel bad for dragging you into my family's problems. You're welcome now, please. You don't have to. It's not your fight. Gadgets, she said, before she plunged her head towards his. Their beaks met suddenly. Gosling closed her eyes. Louis was too stiff or weak or moved to resist. He simply went wide-eyed as he was kissed by the young goose. His eyes closed as the flaring feeling in his stomach settled to a warm contentment that overshadowed the pain in his chest and limbs. Soon, too soon, Gosling broke away from Louis's beak. Shut up. Oh, okay, said Louis, before he let himself be led back toward the sea duck by Webby. Darkwing turned towards the thunderquack. He could see Huey sitting in the pilot's seat, shitty and grin, both thumbs extended high in the air. Darkwing blessed underneath her mask as she walked back to her place in the passenger's seat. She was forced to give Louis's brother a high five, since he was at the moment unable. Soon, the thunderquack was high in the air, screaming towards the con building. The con building was lit up like the 4th of July. 4 spotlights searched the sky as an endless parade of guards patrolled the roof, viewing the balconies of the tall building. In the cloudy skies, the dark thunderquack circled overhead, concealed and silent, unseen by everyone. The canopy opened, and a small figure jumped. The jet was soon off, disappearing over the horizon, ready to come back within 2 hours, or at the call of the violet-clad goose, whose small parachute blew open, laying her billet towards the top of the roof, dragging herself nimbly between the exposing beams of the searchlights. Soon, she was close enough that she could let the parachute go. It detached from her, billowed up, suddenly free from the weight. Before it stumbled into the path of the searchlight, Darkwing pressed the device in her sleeve. She fell a short distance to the flat surface of the viewing deck. That was behind one of the Beagle Boy guards. There, a bright flash of the parachute illuminated suddenly. Every eye on the roof turned towards the flash. Every set of feet went off to investigate, leaving a nondescript patch of shadow containing Darkwing Duck alone. With the guards busy and distracted with the burning parachute, Darkwing was able to easily sneak across the roof door and inside. Everybody, da bum bum da bum bum da bum bum. First order of business, he thought, is finding out where this guy is. This fertility disc. Their first stop was the first floor, where the main guard tower was located. Forcing the elevator shafts open was easy enough. Using the cables and a few trick arrows to slow the descent to get up and down in the building was as easy as falling off a really tall log. The tricky part was avoiding getting yourself crushed by the elevator itself as it went its merry way. She'd been lucky on this first trip. She'd come down the shaft underneath the elevator, so she wouldn't have to try to go down through the car. But on the other hand, she would have to work fast and go down before someone tried to call the elevator. She had been traveling for a long time, and she counted the floors as she went. Eventually, counting gave way to another line, a way of passing the time. Hi, Dad, she began to think. How are you? Sorry I haven't called, but I've sort of been busy. Follow that steel beak lead, remember? led all the way back to McDuck Enterprises. Actually, I guess it's more Con Enterprise Industries than McDuck, but Con is a subsidiary. The new CEO, Varric Kagan, is a baddie this time. Sounds so white collar, I know, and it is, but Louis, the Duck family needs me. They have extreme ideas about money. I hope that kiss wasn't too forward. Having a mom to ask for advice would have been awesome for times like this. Like I said before, you'll like him. He and his family's good people. They're closest I've ever come to meeting an entire family of legacy heroes without having to ask a master involved. I suppose their great Uncle Scrooge probably counts as the hero of this outfit. But there's also memories about their other Uncle Donald, who actually raised him. Right now I'm in the elevator shaft, hoping to high heaven nobody uses the elevator. They needed to find an accountant so they could become cooked books before presenting them to Shus. Like I said, white collar, barf. At least there's shades of someone being held hostage. Wonder why? Probably knows too much. Ding! The sudden noise chilled Darkwing's heart to the core. She was nearly to the bottom, hanging on the elevator cables of a grapple arrow, but she could feel something starting to move through the cables. She looked up. Like a freight train, there it was, heading down towards her position. The elevator car, one of the high-speed models used in especially tall buildings, was rocketing towards the ground. She was in the way. She gave a yell before letting go of the cable, letting herself fall towards the nearest elevator door. The entrance to the third floor. Drawing a thick arrow from her quiver, she began to pry the door quickly, trying desperately to outrun the speeding car. There was a little give, but not enough. Not for how fast the elevator was coming. Her arms burned with the effort, trying to wedge the arrow more and more, trying to outrun certain death. Suddenly the arrow went deep, triggering the automatic mechanism in the door. It began to open itself, before it was even open all the way. Darkwing was through it and through the floor. There was a sudden tug on her neck that caused her to choke for a moment, before she was free again. She looked back and noticed a piece of her cape had been sliced off by the fast-moving elevator, leaving a clean rip from a pair of scissors. She gulped, keeping in mind that being a little cheap with the cape material saved her life this day. But enough of standing around. She needed to get out into the open. She looked back into the open elevator shaft and saw the car hopped up on the first floor. Edna, what's with that smug grin? It's like I always told you. And no keeps. Very funny, Edna. Ha ha! She jumped down, figuring the only moment before it started moving again. She landed with a thump and instantly opened the top emergency hatch, jumping inside. What the? The Beagle Boy security guard inside had his jaw broken and head concussed before he could alert any of his friends and relations about what was going on. He laid down on the ground in the elevator. A dark shadow assaulted him, fitted out the first floor. She came out in a bright entrance hall, towards the back. Quickly, he found a door marked Employee Only in English, Hindi, and a multitude of other languages, before stepping inside. The hall she stepped into was starkly lit by fluorescent light and was quite bare, like the warmly decorated front hall. On either side there was blank doors that each held the promise of opening up suddenly and exposing her. For a little stunt in the elevator didn't do that first. She rushed down the hall, searching for a sign, which she soon found. It said, Security Room. She counted to 3 and went in. There were 3 of them, Beagle Boys all. One was sleeping and the other 2 were pressing a cat's cradle back and forth. There was an overwhelming stench of prunes in the air. The first Beagle, its back to Darkwing, went down with a single strike to the head. The second, who stared wide-eyed at DW as she did so, tried to reach for his gun too late. Her webbed foot found its head, dazing him long enough for the sleeping third to be taken out quietly. Tilting awake from the socket of chloroform-tipped arrow, before going back to sleep, for good this time. All 3 splayed on the floor. Darkwing spent a moment to look around, making sure no silent alarms were going off. She noted all the cameras must have appeared on, and just for a moment, thanked the BBs for being so obligingly incompetent. Back to business. She pushed the sleeping Beagle off his seat and sat down, rolling the chair around to manipulate the consoles, and check the various cameras around the building. She began to ponder. If I was a megalomaniacal CEO of a famous corporation, where would I hide someone I've trapped in my high-rise office building without anyone finding out? Click, click, click. She flipped the channels, checking through each view one by one, trying to see what they felt they were looking at. Multitudes of static images paraded by, some filled with scenes of patrolling guards, the odd office peon out sitting at late night. She kept on went to check. flowing through each floor one by one, since he caught something that was in her eye. The screen was dark. Not dark as in the room was dark, but dark as his camera has been tampered with dark. It was working, to be sure. No static or interference, but at the same time, the room wasn't being projected. Someone placed something in front of the lens. Knowing down the room, she stood to investigate. An office, midway up the building. Smart place to put a hostage, to be sure. Most evil millionaires can't resist hiding the victims on the top floor, somewhere conspicuous. Locking them up in a random office behind a mountain of do not enter tape would probably be smarter. Giving each Beagle Boy another dose of sleeping medicine from her quiver, Darkwing Duck swooped out of the room. Confident with the guards asleep, she would not have to worry about cameras. How long had he been there? A year? 2? 5? 100? In the parade of days, and in just enough food to survive. Wondering when or when he ever see the sun again, the man wrapped in a rough brown blanket had lost himself. Why did they keep him alive? Must be some reason. He did as he'd done for however long it's been. He sat and waited. Eventually his jailer, Ferret Kagan, would come in, taunt him, bring him stale bread to live on. He'd be powerless to stop him, or his plans. Light came on, a crack under the door. A shrouded man tin stole over. He hears the sound of something being inserted into the lock. It wasn't a key, however. He found himself furrowing his brow at this breach of tradition. Suddenly, a light snapping explosion occurred towards the door. His eyes fixating on the aftermimbers, the slight flash left in the corner of his vision. Felt his eyes trying to fall beyond the door capacity to quickly fading past. Soon, he was able to blink it away. He found that the room was bathed in the light from the door. A long shadow of a figure in a white hat being cast from the door frame. A memory stirred from before all this. Recognized that shadow. Darkwing Duck? He said. First words he said in an age. The figure stepped into the room, trying to find the light switch. No, it was completely dead. Someone in here? Can't see you. Darkwing had to suppress his startle as he saw the shrouded figure lurch into the light from the hall, holding up white feathered arms to protect his sensitive eyes. After that, another instinct came to the fore, one without some degree of which becoming a superhero would be a futile exercise. Looking compassionate, she approached the stranger. My God, what did he do to you here? She asked, her arms swinging over his shoulders to support the taller Duck. She noticed that underneath his blanket was completely naked. Darkwing Duck, it's been a long time. You know me? He looked closer, his unaccustomed eyes slowly readjusting to the concept of light. You're different. I get that a lot. She raised his arm, so frail and thin, over her shoulder, and began to help him towards the door. Come on now, we're getting you to safety. With her support, the tall Duck was being led out into the hall, as if someone had taken a normal-sized duck and strengthened lengthwise to the breaking point. His face was quite unkempt and unshaven. Feathers grew wildly around his entire body. Eyes were sunken in. Squinted at the meager nighttime illumination left in the building after hours. I would talk about Shaven and Beaks, but you know how I feel about Anthros. I don't ever ask questions. It can't be. The little girl? Goslin? She blinked on, before turning her face to look at him. Who are you? There she is! Get her! Yelled a voice suddenly. That's when Darkwing Duck noticed a platoon of boys coming around the corner. Oops! Was all she said as she turned, helping the frail prisoner hobble along in the opposite direction, where another platoon of beagles appeared. Blatherskite, said the stranger, with all the weight of an expletive. Excuse me? She said, before remembering the threat. She looked down at the windows of the hall, large floor-ceiling picture windows that did not open and needed one hell of an impact to break. The twin walls of Beagle security guards approached. Explosive tip barrel provided such an impact. Come on! Darkwing yelled, grabbing the thin man by the waist and jumping out the shattered window. The two figures fell for a moment, before Darkwing pulled out a grappling arrow. Not even bothering to knock it, she merely throwing it towards the building, hoping it'll stick. For his part, the man hanging from her arms by his waist seemed to take in the excitement well. A stroke of luck, the grappling arrow was able to grab onto a viewing balcony. The two figures, clutching for each other, were jerked to a stop by a strong cord. Gripping the other body to herself, Darkwing dared to open her eyes, looking up at the caged view balcony that had saved her and her companions' lives. You okay? She asked. I'm fine. Lovely. Grab on tight. She then began the labor, climbing up the strong cord. Surprisingly light man clutching onto her back. Where do we get picked up? The roof. If I'm right, he should be there by now. We need to find some way to get up. Oh. Hello, girlie. It's me, called the lecherous voice of Boner Beagle, dressed in his best greasy security guard uniform. He had poked his head over the balcony, and stroking the cord, holding them up in the air like a lover. Boner Beagle! She yelled as her arms screamed from the effort of hanging from the rope. What are you doing here? What all my Beagle brothers and cousins are doing. Guarding Mr. Kagan. And ho-ho, I see you got Mr. Kagan's little project strapped to your back there. Twanging the rope like a guitar string. Darkwing could feel the vibration through her hands. I still need to pay you back for that broken nose you gave me back at Duckburg. Don't you dare. I'm sure Mr. Kagan would be 6 kinds of sad when he learned his little pet is dead and gone. But he'll be very happy once he knows Darkwing's dead. I'm warning you. Not to mention. He laughed wildly in the middle of the sentence, his greasy hair flicking every which way. Not to mention I still had to pay you back for the fork in the Fancy Pants restaurant. I know it was you, Chickie. I never forget a dame. Looking around wildly for anything she could use, she ultimately came up short, fate ultimately up to the mag above. Of course, I could see clear and let you up. He smiled a toothy while his grin, along with a requested gold truth. If, getting the insinuation, Darkwing Duck grimaced. Go to hell! You first. Bye-bye, baby. With that, a quickly drawn switchblade began to slice through the rope holding him up. Darkwing, I'm getting a little worried, said the stranger on her back. I know, I... Just then, the rope gave. The 2 hangers were falling down, listening to the sounds of their screams dying away. Butterbeaker smiled, letting the sound record into his audio library. Nothing gets the guy off like cold-blooded murder. So long, Toots, he said, turning around. Thanks for the memories. Then there were sounds of jet engines behind him. You're welcome, slimeball, said a girl's voice from behind him. He turned slowly, coming face to face with the face of a giant duck, draped in purple and flying. On top of its gigantic beak, Darkwing and the former prisoner were there. Darkwing, sure-footed and strong, kept flapping in the breeze, her arms propelling her bow and arrow taut, right towards him. You know, I saw this coming. It's a common trope, but god damn if it isn't awesome! Nip! He yelled, before he turned and went back to the building before the arrow could get him. Instead, it bounced off the bulletproof glass precisely where his swaying fast arrow had set. Darkwing nodded, stomping the jet. Take us home, Huey. The canopy opened. The strange man was held inside by the terror that fought in the night. With all passengers' seatbelts fastened and ready to go, Huey gunned the instruments, intending to be back on the sea dock within the hour. Here he is, said Darkwing. Take good care of him. She then turned towards the thundercrack and walked away. Wait! Louis yelled from his position, sitting on the edge of the doorframe, leaning into the sea deck's passenger cabin. Only a little bit of the volume as he attended. You're not staying? You guys will be all right without me, she said, looking towards the frail man sitting down, bending to tend by Webby. Don't worry about that. But are you arguing with me just to get you to kiss you again? She said with a smirk, 'cause that was a one-time thing. I like you boys and all, but I got my own shit to do. Gizmo Duck's little police state in St. Canard is getting out of hand when you guys called. Gizmo Duck? Asked the man. Then that's my cue, said Darkwing. I already figured out this part. So, have fun, you guys. With that, she walked on towards the thunderquack, activating it, opening it up by remote control. Goslin, please tell me you did the cool thing and walked towards it while your cape was flapping in the breeze, holding the control with one hand and pressing the button. They watched her go, before Webby gave the man a glass of water. Dewey stood over him, What do you mean? You said Gizmo Duck. Do you know Gizmo Duck? First thing is first, said Huey. Introductions. Each of the ducks and parrots were in turn introduced to their new companion. Really caught food and water as fast as Webby could bring it. It's been so long since I've seen you boys. What? Asked Louie. You seem to know everybody. You don't recognize me? Huey, Dewey, and Louie were curious, and Webby shrugged her shoulders. It was Dewey, however, that his memory stroked. It was a memory of something from long ago. Someone they used to know. Memories that had to do with money. Dewey suddenly bent down, picked up a small handful of dirt. Count the grains. 7,849. Everyone else blinked, clearly impressed that such a talent can't the individual specs in a handful of dirt. Here's a bean counter, Dewey said, cutting the dirt off his hands. Uncle Scrooge's accountant, Fenton Crackshell. Fenton Crackshell finally let himself a weak smile. See, a lot has happened to you boys since I saw you last. Same here. Let me see his brain. Oh my God, Mr. Crackshell, I didn't even recognize you. So he placed a hand on his thin shoulder. What happened? I got too close to Fair Cake, is what happened. Found a bookkeeping mistake. He almost killed me for it. Almost? Asked Dewey. Why didn't he kill you? It seems that would... I think it's because... He paused to breathe a sigh. Because I was Gizmo Duck until a few years ago. All three boys threw their hands in the air, yelling at once. Fuck! You were Gizmo Duck! I could have sworn it was Launchpad, said Huey. I always thought it might have been Uncle Donald, said Louie. It was obviously Duckworth, said Dewey. That makes no sense, said Louie. Duckworth wasn't even a duck. He was too tall in any case. So, it was super futuristic mechanical suit. He could do whatever the hell he wanted. Levy cleared his throat. Guys? All three caught themselves mid-argument and slumped. But wait, said Louie. If you're Gizmo Duck, then who's that guy running around St. Canard? Fenton took a slow sip of water before he continued. He came upon me one day after Ma passed on. Rest her soul. I was a little unhinged at that point. I was getting past my prime. My Gizmo Duck days were soon over. I wasn't looking out where I was changing, and he saw me. He rolled his eyes, looking a little annoyed towards Huey. He seemed to be disappointed about me not turning out to be a Launchpad McCrack as well. Well, he was the best guess we all had to go on. I tried to get away from him. I tried to hide my face, but it was too late. I was a teenager. Be about your fellows' age now. Wore a coonskin cap. He was a junior woodchuck? Asked Louie. Yes, sir. Not a particularly good one, but good enough. He followed me to a crime in progress, and, well, he took another sip of water. Guilt began to build up inside. He was shot. I rushed him back to my hideout. I dug a cave for underneath the trailer park, hidden away from there for my life as Fenton Crackshell, my life as Gizmo Duck. I operated him. He lived. Tells me I saved his life. But it was me who got him into that in the first place. I liked me even more after that. When I came to be retire, he took up the suit in the name. Almost without my permission. Almost. But who is he? Asked Huey. If he was a junior woodchuck in our year, we should know him. You're right. I don't know if this was his real name, or he just liked to be called, but he went by Doofus. Like a calm before the store, all four ducks stared at Fenton for a moment. Suddenly, each duck had their own way of coping with the bombshell. Huey laughed merrily. Louie looked confused, or as confused as he could, still wrapped up. Dewey looked a bit angry at the betrayal of one of their childhood friends. Webby began to blush. All four of them, at the same time, said the same thing at the particularly same instant. What?